Many say the last frontier and our greatest discoveries await us in outer space. I say the last great adventure of mankind is understanding the space in between our own ears. The brain is very complex, and we're just barely scratching the surface of what our brains can do. Telepathy, precognition, astral projection could all lie just outside our current understanding. Sometimes the best way to understand how our brains work is to study when it goes wrong. Tonight, we will be exploring the curious case of the jumping Frenchman of Maine. I'm Kathy.
I'm Chris.
I'm Sean.
And this is Weirder After Dark. Our story today is about the jumping Frenchman of Maine. Any ideas?
My immediate thought is, are we going to the deep world of jump roping competitions?
The cutthroat.
Yeah. I have no idea where this could be going. The jumping Frenchman of Maine?
Jumping Frenchman of Maine.
I was thinking like time jumps, maybe? Like the jumping through time?
Ooh, I like Kathy.
Well, we're going to find out. In 1878, Dr. George Beard received a letter from another physician describing a condition that was so unbelievable and ridiculous that it created disbelief and intrigue at the same time. The letter reported the physician came across a disorder that was so bizarre that he needed a second opinion from Dr. Beard. Dr. Beard was the right guy to bring in on this case. He was a Yale graduate, and then he attended the New York School for Physicians and Surgeons for his doctorate in medicine.
Smart dude.
He was a surgeon who served in the Navy on a gunboat, the New London. After he served, he dedicated his career to helping soldiers get over their nervousness from the time at war. Today, we'd call that PTSD.
We like this guy.
Yeah,
he's
he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Still don't know what the jumping Frenchman of Maine is.
No
Still doesn't
idea.
help you. Yeah, going in blind. Yeah.
I'm now imagining those like jumping beans. But it's just like a human. He just can't stop jumping.
It makes me think of the Lords of Leaping from, the 12 Days of
Christmas.
He was able to find correlations between the central nervous system and the traumatic events witnessed at war. These findings were way before their time, and he would pioneer working with PTSD and other stress-related disorders. He authored several books and papers on mental illness and was well-respected among his peers. So bringing him on this odd case was the prudent thing to do. In response to the letter, Dr. Beard traveled from New York City to a lumberjack camp. Jacked.
He is lumberjacks. Oh, that's your new pickup line if you're ever single. That man is lumberjacks.
In response to the letter, Dr. Beard traveled from New York City to a lumberjack camp near Moosehead Lake in Maine. At the time, this was an exceptionally remote camp where lumberjacks cut down trees all winter, and during the spring, when water levels were high, used the local river systems to move lumber downstream to the mills. This camp had about 120 or so men living and working at the outpost. It was a very meager existence. With a few predominant buildings, it was made up mostly of temporary bunk-style housing for the men to live in. The Moosehead Lake area is rural today, but in the 1800s, it was downright desolate, with very few permanent residents. You could expect to walk for days without coming across another person or any sign of civilization. The camp employed about 40 or so French Canadians who spoke very broken English, if any at all. Of these 40 men, most of them were afflicted with the strange disorder. This disorder would become known as the jumping Frenchman of Maine disorder. This disorder got the name due to the exaggerated and bizarre startled response of the inflicted. Dr. Beard got right to work. He asked the camp foreman to see the strange French-Canadian affliction in person. The foreman brought him into a bunkhouse of about 40 lumberjacks. He then snuck up behind one of the Frenchmen and yelled, "Punch the wall!" The Frenchman immediately dropped the tobacco pipe he was loading, jumped up out of his chair and yelled, "Wall!" and then punched the wall as hard as he could, injuring himself in the process.
Wait, what?
That's a weird reaction. Wall!
And then he punched it.
Okay.
All right. So that's what happens. Dr. Beard, taken back by this immediate and violent display, rightfully so.
Yeah.
This was not like any other anxiety disorder he had ever encountered before. He was sure it was just a prank the men at the camp were playing on him. But he also got the feeling the Frenchman was not only annoyed by this command, he also seemed to have no control over his response. I don't know where in the story to put this, so I'm just going to put it here. I want to call out the cruelty of these cases and studies, and while fascinating, it is also very disturbing the way that they treated one another. If I knew someone who suspected this, oh, Sean, you'd be going down.
I still don't even know what it is. So you scare me and I just punch it?
You just end up doing whatever you get yelled to do.
Okay.
So here we go. Not knowing what to think of this display, he asked if any of the other lumberjacks were inflicted. The foreman snuck up behind another Frenchman holding an axe and yelled, "Throw your axe!" Without hesitation, almost like a startled response, the Frenchman jumped up and yelled, "Axe!" and then threw his axe, and it stuck into the wall opposite of him.
What?
This sounds dangerous.
What?
And they repeat the last word of the command and then do it?
And then
that's
do it.
a anxiety disorder? Okay.
Yeah, first off, how did this foreman figure this out? That's what I want to know. He's like, watch.
Watch. Watch this.
This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Watch this.
What can I make him do?
Give me your money.
Yeah.
Money. She just throws it at you.
Well, Dr. Beard, still suspicious, interviewed several other lumberjacks, and they all had stories to tell about this strange affliction. To the lumberjacks, this was great fun and a great way to pass the time to make the Frenchmen jump and act on command. It only worked on the Frenchmen in camp, and it worked every single time without hesitation. One lumberjack told the doctor he snuck up on two Frenchmen in conversation one day and yelled, "Punch him in the face!" Both of the Frenchmen yelled simultaneously, "Face!" and then punched each other in the face so hard that they both fell to the ground.
That's terrible.
Great. No, this is great. Oh, man, I want to join this community. Kick him in the balls.
Balls.
This was quite amusing to the lumberjack, but concerning to the doctor. Commands to jump in the lake during the bitter cold weather would follow. Touch the hut stove was followed. Punch yourself in the face was followed. Every lumberjack interview confirmed and shared another story of the odd behavior.
Right? This can't be real, right?
I hope it is.
Always proceeding by repeating the last word of the command and always completing the command, however dangerous or embarrassing it might be. This was not only a peculiar stress response, it was also one of the most consistent and complicated stress responses the doctor had ever encountered.
I'm now imagining this being like our Weirder After Dark inside joke. like we go out to the bar, and if one of us yells something, we just have to joke
We
and
have
say
to
it.
do it.
it.
No choice.
No choice.
That's a terrible idea.
I'm in.
I'm in. I hate to admit it, but I'm in. A camp cook, a Frenchman, seemed to be a favorite target of the lumberjacks. A well-timed command of "drop the plate" would often end up with some poor lumberjack covered in their night's dinner. Why are you pissing off the cook?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Leave
the one
him alone.
person. Yeah, that's the one person. Don't want to be messing with him. It was becoming clear to the doctor that it was not a game the Frenchmen were playing, but an uncontrolled, automatic, startled response. This was further confirmed because the victim usually followed the command with a tirade of yelling and swearing in French with his arms flailing in anger. Real frustration and anger was on the Frenchman's face, and the idea of it being a hoax started to fade in the doctor's mind.
And he's like this renowned doctor.
Yeah, so he's like pretty smart,
Yeah.
right? Like
Oof.
well respected in his community. While clearly cruel and vicious as these pranks were, he was also fascinated by this phenomenon and wanted to study it further and asked for several more demonstrations of this horrible infliction because we need more examples of this.
Yeah. It's like, I'm never leaving this place.
This is awesome.
This is so much fun. The lumberjacks, of course, were more than happy to comply, and the pranks continued for the doctor's study and the lumberjacks' amusement through the early evening and through dinner. Dr. Beard, having worked with the mentally ill in all kinds of different settings and different disorders, had never seen anything remotely as strange as this behavior. The next day, working with a translator, he was able to interview a few of the Frenchmen. None of the men interviewed seemed to know why this response was happening any more than the doctor did. They did tell him they did not like it and they wanted it to stop. All of the Frenchmen, I mean, that's fair.
Chris keeps fucking with me. Please make it stop.
All of the Frenchmen he interviewed reported this was not an issue for them in the past, and this peculiar condition started when they started working at the camp.
Oh, that's strange.
He was also able to determine most of the French Canadians were from very rural outposts in Maine or Canada, and this job was the most people they had ever been around at one time. This gave the doctor the idea that the men could be suffering from increased stress. The Frenchmen were not used to having people around them that they didn't know, and now they were living with over 100 strangers.
Okay, but
Stressful.
how does that link to this?
I don't know.
Sean, if you study stress disorders, everything looks like a stress disorder, right?
Okay. But I went to college. And I didn't randomly just start jumping and yelling and doing everything people told me.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
You kind of did, didn't you?
Never mind, take that back.
Sean, write a paper. Write the paper.
The rural nature of their upbringing gave Dr. Beard another theory. Being from such small communities, he believed some men could have been the product of incest, and this could have had some neurological effect. But these were just guesses. He needed to study further. Dr. Beard administered a reflex test on one of the Frenchmen using a light hammer tap on the nerve under the kneecap.
Yeah, it's going to go well.
The usual response is a quick but slight involuntary movement of the leg. The Frenchman's response was way more exaggerated. Dr. Beard reported he jumped 10 inches off the table and then ran around the room in a panic state for several minutes.
What?
Seemed a little overdramatic, but that's what happened.
Okay. Gang, we've been talking about it for months, but they're finally here. We've officially started collaborating with Ghost Poppy on 3 uniquely Weirder After Dark candles, and they're available right now.
Our first one is simply branded Weirder After Dark, and it's everything you would expect when sitting around a campfire, sharing stories with your friends in New England.
Hints of maple, clove, earth, smoked amber, pine, cedar, patchouli, a true hanging out by the fire vibe.
We'll also have 2 scents inspired by 2 of our favorite Weirder After Dark tales.
The first being Chris's story on Boone Island.
Guys, wait, wasn't that one about cannibalism?
It sure was, but it also takes place on an island off the rocky coast of Maine, and that's what you can expect with this candle.
Think scents of moss, earth, juniper, bergamot, ozone, the fresh sense of being on an island after an intense thunderstorm.
That sounds so much nicer than what I was thinking. Thank you, guys.
So much nicer. And lastly, a scent inspired by the Voynich manuscript, a story we were all captivated by. And for this one, imagine yourself peaceful and curiously reading an ancient manuscript in a quiet library.
You'll get the sense of bergamot, eucalyptus, balsam, leather, and patchouli.
And you can feel good about buying these candles. Why?
Because it's made by a small US-based business, and they've been such a pleasure to work with. Carla and her husband Sean make these candles by hand. They're 100% soy-based, vegan, paraben, and sulfate and cruelty-free, which means absolutely no nasty chemicals and all the good feels for you.
So gang, if you're loving these episodes and want to support us, head over to ghostpoppy.com and find the Weirder After Dark collection. The link will be in the description, and pick up some of your own candles today. It would absolutely mean the world.
Thanks. He also recorded tick-like movements that were very similar to soldiers with post-war anxiety. He was also able to document that 14 of the afflicted Frenchmen were from the same family, suggesting a genetic piece to this disorder.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of
now it's more believable.
All right. Dr. Beard also recorded that just an unexpected light tap on the shoulder would send them into a full panic. This reaction, while working with axes in the woods, could be incredibly dangerous. The doctor strongly suggested the prank stop. Dr. Beard also surmised it was very unlikely the lumberjacks would decide to follow his advice.
Fuck no.
Yeah, this is way too much fun. Dr. Beard was not able to find the cause of the infliction and gathered his notes and returned home to New York. He was able to go on and document his findings in the American Journal of Neurological Disorders. He also gave a speech at the American Neurological Disorder Conference that same year, presenting all of his evidence and theories about the jumping Frenchmen of Maine. No one at the conference had ever seen such a stress response, and while not being booed off the stage, it was not a warm one. No follow-up examinations were conducted, and no further incidences of the jumping Frenchmen of Maine disorder had ever been diagnosed since. So what are we to make of these strange findings? Was it a hoax by bored and restless lumberjacks who were able to fool this doctor? Or was it attention-seeking exaggerations by Dr. Beard trying to impress his colleagues? Or could it be entirely maybe a real disorder?
I definitely don't think if I was trying to impress my colleagues, this is the story I would do it with.
I went to Maine.
Yeah.
Scared some Frenchmen.
These Frenchmen jump!
Okay, well, before we decide, I have a few more cases to run by you. In 1874 in Malaysia, a medical paper was published by Sir Hugh Charles Clifford. The paper was called The Study of Brown Humanity. Yes, the name of this paper is a little dated, and well, let's just admit it, we got to admit it's kind of racist, right? But the findings were interesting. He recorded several cases where when the startled response was invoked in locals, they would involuntarily mimic the behaviors of the person in front of them. This was documented by Clifford in numerous observations. Clifford, being the humanitarian he was, wondered what would happen if you startled two people with the same affliction. When two of his subjects were facing each other in conversation, he made a loud banging noise, causing both subjects to have a startled response. They both started yelling obscenities and both started to mimic each other's behavior and hand gestures frantically. This lasted about a half an hour till one man fell from exhaustion and started to foam at the mouth.
What?
That's horrible and hilarious and fascinating.
I love this science. They're just like, what would
Let's
happen
just do
if?
Let's just try and stand back and
No one's
watch.
getting hurt. Oh, he's foaming. He's foaming.
The paper was called A Study in Brown Humanity. So this
yeah.
one
It's so
didn't really.
racist.
Yeah.
So racist.
The reaction's not the same as the jumping Frenchman cases, and not even studied by a medical doctor, but another very strange case from about the same time period of a very odd stress response. So different, but
we're kind of building.
yeah.
Yeah, similar enough.
Yeah.
So next we're going to go to Siberia, where Dr. William A. Hammond in 1884 documented not exact, but similar strange cases. He documented cases when individuals, when startled, imitated the stimuli that startled them with great accuracy. Noises, sudden movements, doors shutting loudly would trigger the imitation of the noise and action for a percentage of the local population. Animal noises, the dropping of a pan, closing of a window, all created a stress response where the action and noise were mimicked. In one such documented case, when trying to invoke the startled reflex, a researcher ran up behind a man and clapped loudly. While sneaking up behind the man, the researcher tripped and fell violently to the ground, breaking his nose.
Kind of deserved that.
Kind of deserved it, yeah. The inflicted man promptly clapped and threw himself to the ground violently, landing in a very similar position to the researcher and sustaining similar facial injuries. So not obeying commands without control like the Frenchmen, but mimicking the stimuli when exposed to a sudden stressor, seemingly without any self-control.
And this was about the same time period?
Yes.
Oh,
Solid.
interesting.
But different parts of the world.
Because you don't see that now, but in different parts of the world, you had the same stress response.
Similar.
Oh, interesting.
In 1778, Dr. William Clare in Wiltshire, England, studied a case that occurred in a cotton factory. His documented reports were of a girl who put a mouse in another coworker's shirt as a prank. The victim went into hysterics and desperately tried to get the mouse out of her shirt. Totally fair.
Right.
With the mouse gone, these hysterics and with violent and uncontrolled fits lasted for about 24 hours for this poor girl.
Okay,
So
she overreacted to the mouse.
way over. I mean, that is just drama queen to the fullest. Our parents need to just take control of that situation. The next day, other women at the factory who were not part of this prank also started to go in hysterias, yelling and desperately trying to get a mouse that did not exist out of their shirt. These quote-unquote fits of hysteria lasted for about 15 minutes up to 24 hours. The fits were so violent that the coworkers had to work as teams to stop them from ripping out their own hair or smashing their heads into the floor. Within a week, the number of uncontrolled fits became so great that the factory of about 300 people was shut down completely. At this time,
Strange.
there were 24 separate cases of this hysteria, all occurring in women in the teens and 20s working at the factory. Interestingly, cases were also reported from a nearby factory of a similar unprovoked hysteria by women who were not even involved in the original mouse incident.
Oh, so it's like spreading to other factories? That's weird.
This was the first case of a strike.
These guilds didn't want to work. Yeah.
The local doctor believed that a bag of cotton must have been opened and caused some kind of a poison to be let into the air. This led to shutting down the factory until the fit stopped. Dr. Clare also...
Fuck yes, that's all I gotta do.
We gotta work. Figured it out.
So I have to go into the office on Wednesday.
Does anyone have a mouse?
You work in a chemical factory. That might work.
Just saying, I will run around the office to get out of work. Dr. Clare was called in to investigate. He did not believe the poison air theory and instead diagnosed a stress response. He used electric shock therapy, because that's going to help calm someone's stressors down, on all of the 24 afflicted girls. The treatment ended the strange hysteria. The factory opened back up the next day, and no new reports of hysteria were reported from this point forward.
These bitches were terrified.
Yeah, they're gonna electrocute us.
They were like, nobody get out of line.
They're going to shock us. They're going to shock us again.
So this case is also from the same time period. This case does not have a command or mimicking behavior, but does have a strange exaggerated stress response even when unprovoked. All of these cases were in the late 17 and 1800s. None of the cases were definitively diagnosed. No more recorded cases of these incidences occurred after the 1800s. They just seem to go away.
You think the progression of a disease will change, but it doesn't just go
Yeah, it
away.
just kind of stopped.
Weird.
Until 2011, when 24 high school students in New York started to suddenly show signs of a Tourette's disorder. This included facial tics, uncontrolled movements, as well as blurting out swear words and strange sounds at random. Again, I think they just want to get out of class.
That just sounds like fun in high school.
Yeah, something went viral, 6'7".
At first, this was seen as a cruel prank by the students, as one of the students actually did have Tourette's.
Oh.
That's not cool.
So this was seen as a discipline problem. That was until one of the parents of the afflicted children started to display similar signs of Tourette's, including uncontrolled movements and uncontrolled sounds and words. Doctors could not determine the cause of this sudden onset of symptoms, but were able to treat the children and one adult by helping them to control their stress.
This just seems like the one, aka cool parent, who's like mimicking their child. They're like, "Oh, is this what the kids do now?"
Cool, I'm down. Look, I got it too.
I'm the cool parent.
You guys got out of school for that? Maybe I can get out of work.
Yeah.
Anything gotta work.
I know a couple guys that would try this.
With treatment, all of the inflicted seemed to make a rapid and full recovery over the next few weeks. So strange, right? But does not quite fit the earlier cases, but possible a modern and strange group of responses to stress. So what does this modern medicine make of all of these strange cases? The answer is, well, we don't know. Theories from stress-reduced neurological disorders to chemical and hormonal imbalances to overactive minor neurons have been suggested, but there's no real consensus and there's no real clear answer. I have one more bizarre story to tell you before we close the book on this case. 1153, Strasbourg, France. We had a dancing plague.
A dancing
plague.
Like
You
a
heard me
rave?
right. Like a rave in the streets.
All right.
Yes, you heard me correctly. Dancing plague. It started with one lady dancing in the middle of town. Soon, others joined in. 17 peasants were dancing in the streets. Sounds fun, right? Well, they didn't stop. This went on for days until people collapsed from exhaustion and injury. Several people died from this event.
What?
They compulsively danced completely unprovoked till they literally collapsed seemingly against their own will. Strange, but not isolated, this affliction continued into the 13th and 14th century all over Europe. Spontaneous, seemingly uncontrolled dancing for days or even weeks often resulted in injury and even death. Another incident took place in Cologne, France, with over 200 people joining in. They danced through town and over a bridge. The bridge collapsed due to the weight, causing many to be injured.
I'm sorry, that's not funny, but I want the dancing disease.
I've seen you out at the bars with music.
I can't stop. My feet want to dance. I just want to dance, Papa.
I don't think that's a French accent.
I don't know. It wasn't supposed to be French.
Europe.
It was just me.
Other people are getting syphilis. I just have to dance.
I just have to dance.
I want to dance. You can dance if you want to.
Time to get the clogs. It's time to dance.
Leave those friends behind. France, Germany, and the Netherlands, Italy, these random deadly dance parties seem to break out all over Europe. Children, adults, rich or poor, all seemed to be affected. The nursery rhyme, The Pied Piper, was based on this strange affliction. These strange cases have been very well documented in research, and while theories can go from poisoning to mass hysteria, but no one has a clear answer to what exactly happened. Then, in the start of the 15th century, they just stopped. So, the jumping Frenchmen of Maine, a hoax? An exaggeration? Or still something unexplained to science and medicine? I don't know. What do you think?
When you first started telling the story, I was like, this is ridiculous. But as you got more into it, it's like, there's some precedence for this.
I had the same idea. At first, I was like, okay, just people breaking each other. And then when you said they were all, the Frenchmen were from the same like lineage, that makes me then all of a sudden go like, oh, maybe it is some type of genetic disease that's been inherited and moved along.
And then you had cases of it in Siberia,
Malaysia.
That's strange because people from Malaysia were not French Canadians, so there wasn't a genetic thing. At that point.
I don't know if this
strange.
is real or if it's a hoax, but what a crazy story, though.
And I think the girls in the factory.
Oh, yeah.
That definitely. Like, I mean, I hate to say it. I think it literally, like, the prank happened. The girl had the mouse on the shirt. She freaked the fuck out.
She probably got the day off.
And then everyone just kind of was like, I want a day off.
Until they started shocking them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, no more days off.
That'll teach you.
I honestly think the 6-7 thing that's going viral over the last, like, year or whatever it's been.
I had to have the kids explain to me what that meant.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Yeah, it means absolutely nothing.
It's vomit of the mouth.
But I think that, like, something takes off. It becomes part of a community, becomes funny. They start laughing at it. And next thing you know, everyone does this nonsensical thing.
Yep. And they don't even know why.
Yeah. They don't even know why they're doing it. It's just part of, like, to be part of a community.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, maybe that's all this is.
There are some strange stress responses, right?
Yeah, but it just stopped. It's not like slowly faded or instead of being like 20 people, it was only like one person. Like it just like stopped.
Yeah, see, I could get behind a stress disorder if it was happening to like an individual in each one of these instances, but it's like it's contagious.
Yeah.
And that to me makes it more of like a social
Well, Kathy mentioned we have mirror neurons. And overactive mirror neurons, we would mimic the emotional responses of people around us. So I wonder if there's just like a very exaggerated stress response based on other people's anxiety.
I get the idea of like mirroring stuff. Like I think that makes sense. We do that as humans every single day with people we're comfortable with. But just because you're having anxiety doesn't mean I'm going to be like...
Exactly. I mean, I do think that you can teach, like I think parents can teach children, but that's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's interesting because if you guys, and I've got my back to the door, if you guys all of a sudden had panic in your faces, I would automatically, my body would create panic because it's a safety thing, the safety in the herd, right?
Sure.
And then, so it's an evolutionary trait that we have these mirror neurons that create the emotional response of the herd.
Sure. And I've definitely had the moments where I've gone to like one of those like Halloween scare places and like someone next to me screams, so I just scream even though I'm out there like
I'm so guilty of doing that.
Yeah. But like at the same time, like I'm not going to be like scream, jump in there and punch something.
That's just
we
strange.
need a pack, remember?
I mean, I will now. Yeah, going forward. Yeah. Till today, never though. Such a cool story, Kathy.
Yeah, really well written. I enjoyed that.
It was really fun to read to you guys and share. Yeah, it was good.
No, I appreciate it. And gang, we hope you enjoyed it as well. And if you did, be sure to head over to our Instagram, that is @WaiterAfterDark, where Kathy will be going ahead and posting images of jumping people punching shit.
New England's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? It's so weird. And remember, it's not just Instagram. We are out there building community. So that means that you can visit us on Reddit, on Facebook, and as well as the Instagram, again, @WaiterAfterDark, where you can talk to others who are enjoying these episodes just like you. And remember, if you're out there and you have some weird New England ass stories, if you've seen some ghosts, you've been abducted by aliens, you see Frenchmen jumping and punching shit, send us that story because we want to hear. Or wait, have you ever shut down your work by making up some random disease? We want to hear those stories as well, and send them to the gang at waiterafterdark.com.
We'll keep them anonymous, we promise.
Yeah. Sean P. It's always Sean P. said. And remember, if you are liking this shit, if you are absolutely in love with this shit, the best thing that you can do to help support us is to give this episode, wherever you're listening, a like and drop in a comment and buy a fucking candle. Candles are sick, bro. They got wicks.
So good.
Yeah, you could be John Wick. Buy a fucking candle.
You can start a fire without getting in trouble.
That's right. Do that shit. And you can do that by going to ghostpoppy.com. And remember, it always gets a little weirder after dark.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.